This is the Insta360 Ace Pro 2, Insta360's all-new flagship action camera that officially launched today. I've spent quite a bit of time filming with this camera over the past few weeks and believe it may just set a new benchmark in action camera image quality. Today I'm going to show you tons of real-world on-trail riding footage in a variety of different lighting conditions and outline what I think are the 10 most relevant details that mountain bike content creators will appreciate. Let's get into it. As always, some disclosure. This video is brought to you by Insta360. They sent me this Ace Pro 2 camera and a small commission in exchange for making this overview video. Everything in this video is my true and honest opinion, and as you're about to see, I believe that the Ace Pro 2 represents a significant step for Insta360's single lens action camera lineup. Which is also why, as of today, Insta360 is now an official sponsor of my channel. I live in the third most unaffordable city in the world when you look at price to income ratio, so support from Insta360 will make it possible to continue providing high quality content for free for another year, such as my break reviews or in-depth investigation pieces. I won't be putting the Ace Pro 2 through the Dale scale since this is a sponsored video, but thanks again to Insta360 for supporting my channel and making this video possible. Now, Insta360 has been making action cameras since the launch of their One X back in October of 2018. They've effectively been the market leader in 360 action cameras ever since, with the subsequent launches of their X2, X3, and X4 cameras experiencing success on a global scale. Despite what their brand name would suggest, Insta360 makes quite a bit more than just 360 cameras, however, and they've been making single lens action cameras since January of 2020 with the launch of their modular 1R camera. This was followed up with their 1RS camera in March of 2022. Insta360 appeared to have changed their strategy in the last year with the launch of their first non-modular single-lens action camera, the Ace and Ace Pro 2 in November of 2023. The Ace Pro received largely positive reviews from many camera outlets, and although I don't personally have any first-hand experience with it, there appear to be two main criticisms that are relevant to mountain bikers specifically. The first is that the audio quality could be a bit better, and the second, arguably more important point, is that it has a relatively narrow field of view compared to the competition. We're going to see if Insta360 has managed to improve on both of these shortcomings in this video. Today, Insta360 has officially launched its all-new Ace Pro 2 camera. I've been using this camera full-time for the past few weeks, and so far I've been very impressed. My last experience with Insta360 was using their Go 2 back in 2021, and although I understand that's from a different product line, they've come a long way in terms of both performance and refinement since then. The Ace Pro 2 will set you back $399 US, 549 Canadian, or 449 euros. This makes it the exact same price as the GoPro Hero 13 Black in all three markets. Insta360 also offers a dual battery bundle, which adds a second battery for $20 more in all three of the currencies listed. A lot of the marketing material around this camera focuses on its image quality, specifically low light performance. Insta360 also talks a lot about how they improved the audio quality and introduced a built-in wind guard on the Ace Pro 2 in order to help with the wind noise at a hardware level. Combine these with a claimed wider 157-degree field of view, and on paper this appears to be quite a good option for mountain bike content creators, but we're going to put that to the test today. Other detailed specs are easy enough to find online, so I'm going to focus on how this camera performs on the trail. As I've said many times by now, modern action cameras are able to produce high-quality mountain bike footage under the right conditions, and it's the fringe cases that usually make a difference. Thankfully, Vancouver is pretty dark at this time of year, and it's a great time to test out Insta360's low light performance claims. But first, let's talk about setup. Since I haven't used an Insta360 camera in a few years, I went back to the basics and dedicated 2 full rides toward narrowing in on the best settings for mountain biking. Here's what I came up with in rough order of importance. I use Action View to capture as much of the trail, bike, and forest as possible. A 157-degree field of view is one of the widest on the market and should do a great job here. I use Standard Stabilization, which is the lowest active stabilization option available. Insta360 recommends that you use the high stabilization setting for mountain biking, but I assume that's for chest or bike-mounted cameras, which I don't personally recommend, and I found that Standard was more than sufficient for a helmet-mounted camera, even in very low light situations, since your neck acts like a natural gimbal already. I use 30 frames per second since I find that it produces faster looking riding footage than 60 FPS, and I don't personally like the look of 24. I set the video sharpness to low as it's easy to add sharpness in post, but very hard to remove it. I added no additional sharpness in post to any of the clips in this video. I use the iLog color profile as it should provide additional flexibility with color grading the footage afterward, although I used Insta360's official LUT for standardization purposes throughout this video. I set the audio to wind reduction mode. On slow speed trails I could get away with the stereo setting that has no digital noise reduction added, but on faster trails I found that the wind reduction mode did an excellent job of removing the bad and keeping the good noises. I use 4K 16:9 since that's what Insta360 recommends for optimal stabilization. Mountain biking can be a particularly shaky use case, especially when complicating things with low light environments. 4K is also more than enough for point of view action sports in my opinion, though it is certainly nice to have an 8K option available for more stable handheld shots when needed. I use matrix metering instead of face priority metering, since I'm filming action sports and not talking head style shots. I use the high bitrate setting with the 𝙎𝙊𝘾𝙄𝙍𝙬 encoding. Bitrate, although correlated with absolute video quality to an extent, is not a direct measure of it. But storage is cheap and it's my job to make sure I make the best videos possible, so I will always use the highest setting available. For all other settings, including white balance and exposure compensation, I found that the automatic setting did a great job and I usually didn't have to adjust either in post. There's also a pure video mode that Insta360 recommends for low light filming specifically, and I'll cover that a little bit later in the video. I've described my setup quite a few times this year, but for those who are new to my channel, it can be best summarized as a sticky mount on the chin bar of my full face helmet. This provides a great balance of stabilization, perceived trail gradient, and trail roughness. I've been using the same sticky mount on my helmet for almost 3 years now. It's nice when things are truly standard, and it's attached to Insta360's standard magnetic mount that comes with the Ace Pro 2. I'll talk a bit more about this magnetic mount later in the video. I film the majority of my content in landscape orientation, but recently I've been experimenting with proper portrait riding clips. Insta360 makes a vertical to horizontal mount that's compatible with both the Ace Pro and Ace Pro 2, and allows for quick and convenient switching between the two orientations. This mount adapter is compatible with the standard magnetic mount too, and retails for $20 US directly from their website. The final point about setup is that you have to use the Insta360 mobile app to activate the camera. This app is available on the Google Play Store and in my opinion is the best action camera app. But we're going to get more into this app later in the video. So now that we've done the necessary groundwork, it's time to talk about how the Ace Pro 2 performed on the trail. Let's get into the 10 features and benefits that stood out to me the most throughout my testing. The first thing you will notice about the Ace Pro 2 is its new 157-degree field of view. This is the single biggest improvement over the original Ace Pro, and the reason that I will likely be choosing to use this camera for the coming year. In my opinion, the original Ace Pro was slightly too narrow for mountain biking usage, and it detracted from the overall immersion of helmet-based point of view footage. The Ace Pro 2 fixes all of that, and setting the camera to action view with standard stabilization on a helmet mount produces an excellent perspective with nearly the perfect balance of wide-angle views and minimal distortion. Field of view is no longer a concern with this camera. Next up would have to be image quality. The Ace Pro 2 is able to capture sharp scenes from corner to corner in a way that is more reminiscent of a mirrorless camera than a small action camera. With the sharpness set to low, I found that I never had to do anything to the footage in post beyond applying the official Insta360 LUT, as the detail captured already exceeded my expectations. Part of this great image quality is surely due to the great stabilization, but I bet most of it comes down to a solid optical design that is impressively well centered. Having an 8K option available is definitely nice to have, but Insta360 recommends sticking with 4K for higher demand activities, and I found the 4K footage to be more than detailed enough for my needs as a content creator. Speaking of image quality, the Ace Pro 2 also excelled in low light situations. Vancouver ends up being pretty dark at this time of year, and I was able to film very usable footage down to low enough light conditions that I wasn't comfortable riding at my usual pace. The standard stabilization also never missed a beat, and the footage has next to no color noise present, which is the more distracting form of noise in most cases. I found that the Ace Pro 2 did a great job of balancing shutter speed with ISO, and never felt too blurry or crisp in either very bright or very dark environments. And this is all in the standard video mode. Insta360 has a pure video mode on this camera that is specifically designed to record higher quality footage at night by using AI noise reduction. It's nice to have this option available, and it does work quite well, but I'm very much a set it and forget it kind of person, so you won't find me switching between the two modes depending on how high the sun is. Next would have to be the stabilization. Insta360 has historically always been a very strong player in this area, and the Ace Pro 2 is no exception. I find the stabilization on this camera to be very natural, and it strikes a great balance between cropping the footage in and minimizing bumps and jitters when using the standard level stabilization. Even when riding rough trails at speed around sunset, the footage was always sufficiently stabilized to my liking. It's worth noting that Insta360 recommends you use the high stabilization setting for mountain biking or equivalent sports, but I strongly disagree with that if you mount the camera to your helmet, which you'll probably want to do to keep the field of view as wide as possible. Your neck acts like a natural gimbal already, and the wider field of view is more important than horizon level footage is for any point of view action sports. Another standout feature of the Ace Pro 2 are the colors that it produces. I've had a lot of recent experience with all three flagship action cameras that have been released within the past month and a half, and I believe that Insta360 takes the cake here. I filmed all of these clips in this video on their iLog color profile and applied the official LUT to the footage in post. This produced impressively accurate colors with close to no additional effort. Usually I'll feel the need to tweak the footage in at least some minor way, be that white balance or exposure, but I didn't feel the need to do this with the Ace Pro 2 at all. As a creator, that's one less thing to do, and that's always appreciated. I also tested out the standard non-iLog color profile, and it managed to produce great results too. This is a good way to simplify your workflow, although I just prefer to use the iLog footage for the additional theoretical flexibility. Now, apart from the field of view, the next biggest complaint that reviewers seem to have about the original Ace Pro was its audio quality. Compared to the new flagship offerings within the action camera space, I am happy to report that the Ace Pro 2 delivers very high quality audio straight out of the camera. The hardware wind cover does a good job of removing wind noise from static or handheld shots, and I found that the auto wind noise reduction mode consistently provided the best results for mountain biking. Take a listen.
Okay, this is an audio test of the Insta360 Ace Pro 2.
I believe that high quality audio is more important than high quality video, and this camera performs well here straight out of the box. If you're looking for the best of the best, the Ace Pro 2 has a laundry list of external mics that it is compatible with, including all of the main brands in this segment. The next feature worth mentioning is the magnetic mount. I'm thankful that magnetic mounts are becoming more commonplace within the action camera space, and I think that Insta360 might have the most robust solution so far. The magnetic mount that's built into the Ace Pro 2 has no play whatsoever and provides no opportunities for rattling to occur. It's also very easy to use, very secure, and included in the standard camera bundle, where some of the other competitors' magnetic mounts are not. Although the magnet is quite strong and it probably isn't recommended, the camera can be mounted and latched facing in either direction, which could be useful in non-riding situations. A magnetic mount is a big deal as it allows you to travel with the camera detached from your helmet while still keeping your angle perfectly aligned every time. It's a huge quality of life improvement if you've never experienced it, above the old school tabs of years past. Speaking of magnets, Insta360 sent me their vertical to horizontal adapter. This mount allows you to conveniently and securely switch between portrait and landscape orientations, depending on the style of content that you're looking to film. I like this solution quite a bit more than a frame or a cage style one, as this L bracket can be toollessly removed from the camera in seconds by depressing the buttons on both sides. I've actually chose to keep it installed throughout my testing, and I appreciate the convenience that it adds for such a small weight and size. If you're looking at purchasing this camera, this mount is the #1 accessory that I'd recommend picking up as well. The overall build quality of the Ace Pro 2 is also worth mentioning. This is a very solid feeling action camera in every aspect, and although the flip touchscreen is not particularly useful when mounted to your helmet, its actuation feels very durable and it is a surprisingly useful feature when filming B-roll content. The Ace Pro 2 also features a removable lens guard, which will be a popular addition that was notably absent on the previous generation model. One detail that really stood out to me for whatever reason is that the charge port and SD card door has a detent on it that holds it open like a car door does, which feels very professional. In the end, it's the details that matter, and Insta360 has clearly done their homework here and spent their time refining this design. And finally, we have the app. I found that the Insta360 app is the easiest and most pleasant to use among the big three. It connects to the camera quickly and reliably, it has a ton of processing, adjusting, and exporting options, it's available on both of the major app stores, and it doesn't endlessly push subscriptions upon you. I usually have little use for a mobile app as I do all of my editing on my desktop with color accurate monitors, but using Insta360's app was pleasant enough that I decided to keep it installed, and I occasionally use it to review highlights in the parking lot after a big ride. Now, there are two bonus details that I couldn't fit into the previous categories that I thought were worth mentioning. The first is that Insta360 makes great SD cards at very reasonable prices. I've actually been using their SD cards exclusively for over 3 years now, and I've never encountered a single issue. You know that they're going to be fast enough to handle 8K footage, and you don't have to have a PhD in storage ratings in order to pick one. These SD cards earn the easiest recommendation I could possibly give. The other neat feature is that you can charge your phone directly from the camera with the included USB-C to C PD cable. This is a great feature in a pinch, and it only requires you to carry the weight of the USB cable with you rather than anything more. Now, as always, no product is perfect, and there are two things that stand out to me as improvements that I hope Insta360 makes in the future. The first is the menus for selecting various video and audio settings are not as intuitive as I would like. You have to look at a few different places within the camera for a comprehensive adjustment. This is a minor annoyance at first, but once you've set up the camera how you like it, it's quite literally set and forget with its one-button quick capture operation. But I hope they improve the settings adjusting efficiency with a future software release. The other point is that the Ace Pro 2 doesn't come with a sticky mount. I've been using the exact same sticky mount for close to 3 years at this point, so that's not a big deal to me personally, but it's worth noting if this will be your first action camera since you will have to consciously buy a separate one. Overall, the Insta360 Ace Pro 2 is an impressive single lens action camera and in my opinion, their best one yet. They've managed to improve on the most common criticisms of the original Ace Pro by increasing the field of view to a respectable 157 degrees, and achieved high quality audio due likely in part to their built-in hardware level wind guard. I really appreciate how the Ace Pro 2 is able to produce high quality, highly detailed footage in nearly any situation, and I'm impressed at just how usable the footage is while riding quickly through a dark forest near sunset. I've never worried about the camera not getting the shot, which makes my life easier and more enjoyable as a content creator. I believe that the Insta360 Ace Pro 2 sets a new benchmark for action camera image quality, and if you're looking for a reliable filming tool, then it should probably be near the top of your list. If you'd like to learn more, I've left an affiliate link to this camera in the video description and in the comments below, and I plan on filming a direct comparison against the GoPro Hero 13 Black in the coming weeks. Let me know what you think of this camera in the comments below, and thanks again to Insta360 for making this video possible.